Today's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. We got Chris Wynn sitting in on a Monday, and we are talking coronavirus, ladies and gentlemen. We just had Carl Goldman on, who has the virus, who's now quarantined in Nebraska, got it on a cruise ship. This is a serious situation. If you recall, last week, Donald Trump Jr. doesn't think it's a serious situation. In fact, Donald Trump Jr. is blaming Democrats for what's transpiring with this coronavirus, and he made some ridiculous claims last week. I want you to have a listen to this and keep this in mind, folks. This isn't just somebody wacky to the right that does a radio show or is a columnist or works for Fox News. This is the son of the President of the United States, Don Jr. Have a listen to this.
Whose soul did he sell to do that, right? I mean, the fact that Pete Buttigieg.
I think was that the wrong cut?
That was the Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, we want to go.
Anything that they can use to try to hurt Trump, they will. But for them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness.
Okay, so really what Donald Jr. is doing is he's saying that Democrats want millions of people dead so that his father loses in 2020. Now, any reasonable human being would tell you that that is beyond absurd, ridiculous, dangerous, and harmful, really. The son of the president making comments like that, it's absurd. And anybody who thinks that's okay, you're a moron. Okay, let me just flat out. If you're okay with Don Jr. saying that Democrats want people to die so that President Trump loses in 2020, you are a right-wing radical nut, and you need to go on medication. Let's be very clear on that, ladies and gentlemen, and get that out of the way right now. You are psychotic if you agree with Don Jr., who has never accomplished anything in his life. Don Jr. has never done anything in his life to brag about. He is the son of Donald Trump. He is a loser, and he's extremely stupid. I guarantee you that guy probably wouldn't be able to pass a class in college if his last name wasn't Trump. I guarantee you that, okay? I guarantee you that. So Mike Pence, the Vice President of the United States, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, was asked by Jake Tapper on CNN over the weekend about the harmful comments that Don Jr. made about Democrats. Have a listen to this exchange, again, on national television, the Vice President of the United States. Here it is.
Can we agree that neither Democrats nor Republicans want Americans to get the coronavirus and die from it? I mean, that does seem like it seems like very extreme rhetoric. I don't expect you to criticize the president's son, but you don't think that Democrats want people to contract this disease, do you?
Well, I think what the president said earlier this week, and his charge to me, is to remind the American people that the risk is low, to assure the American people that we're ready, but also to say, as the president said, this is no time for politics. And frankly, I think that was Don Jr.'s point.
No, it wasn't.
That there has been some very strong rhetoric directed at the president by some members of Congress and
you don't think that was
political
strong rhetoric?
commentators. Well,
you said seemingly Democrats want millions of Americans to die of coronavirus.
But responding to the kind of things that have been hurled is understandable.
Oh, man. And Donald Trump Jr., didn't Donald Trump Jr. just talk about how Pete Buttigieg had sold his soul? And Mike Pence is responding that way when he's talking about politics and the coronavirus, Brian?
Okay. First of all, folks, let me just say
it's
this.
Unreal.
Again, I'm going to repeat myself because I think it's important. Mm-hmm. This is the Vice President of the United States who is saying it is understandable. That's the term he used. I'm not making stuff up here. We just played you the audio. The Vice President of the United States saying that it is understandable for the son of the president to claim that Democrats are hoping that innocent people die from the coronavirus so that Donald Trump is not reelected in 2020. Is anybody okay with this type of language? How do you feel about that? Let me tell you something about Mike Pence, and let me tell you something about what is understandable. It'd be understandable if we learned that Mike Pence was actually a homosexual himself. That would be understandable if you want to use the term. It would be understandable to learn that the whole reason why Mike Pence calls himself this religious fanatic on the right who is a Bible thumper is because maybe, just maybe, Mike Pence has committed some of those sins that he claims are sins. Just maybe Mike Pence is a phony. Just maybe Mike Pence is a stiff. Just maybe everything that Mike Pence has said in his career is a lie. For God's sakes, when Mike Pence started his political career, he stole money from his campaign. He stole money so he could pay his wife's car payments. Mike Pence is no saint, ladies and gentlemen, but he likes to call himself one and hide behind his religion. And now he's saying it's understandable for the son of the president of the United States to say that Democrats want innocent people to die so that Donald Trump isn't elected in 2020. These are the idiots that are running this country. This is the son of the guy who's running this country. This is the vice president of the United States who is in charge of the coronavirus. And are you okay with that? Are you okay with this idiot, Mike Pence? Are you okay with this guy helping us organize and try to figure out what's going on with this coronavirus? The same moron who said that back in 2000, cigarettes didn't kill people. That's right. Mike Pence said that, folks. He would rather pray to try to cure cancer than actually come up with a cure for cancer. That's Mike Pence. You want to get ridiculous? You want to say ridiculous things? Then I'll say ridiculous things. Mike Pence would rather pray than go to a doctor and get help. And that is not as far-fetched as the stuff that Don Jr. said last week. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of this conversation. Thoughts on Don Jr.'s comments, thoughts on Mike Pence doubling down on Don Jr.'s comments, basically saying that it was understandable for the son of the president of the United States to claim that Democrats want innocent people to die from the coronavirus so that Donald Trump doesn't get elected again in 2020. Your thoughts on that? Phone line's open. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program is 702-257-5396. Again, that is 257-5396. I am so disgusted by this, and I am not surprised that because Mike Pence is a coward. Just like the Bone Spurs in chief president, Mike Pence is a coward. All Mike Pence had to do in answering that question, he didn't have to bash Donald Trump's son. He didn't have to bash him at all. All he had to say was, I don't condone that type of language. I do not think that Democrats want innocent people to die from the coronavirus. That's all he had to say. And then he could have moved on to something else. But Mike Pence chose not to do that. He chose to defend Don Jr., the moron himself. That's what Mike Pence decided to do. And it is so disgusting to me that we have an administration and a vice president that cannot admit any wrongdoing, anything. Anybody in the Trump family, it is nonsense.
I think that's very egregious. You're right. When he doesn't say that I don't agree with what Don Trump Jr. said, I mean, he kind of becomes complicit in that conversation. Now, do I think that Democrats, high-ranking Democrats, Democratic Party actually want people, millions of people in the United States to die due to the coronavirus just so they can, gain political power? I don't. Do I think that they like the idea of a stock market, a plummeting stock market, to make Donald Trump's market and his economy look questionable moving into the 2020 election? I do. But you're right. Mike Pence, all he had to do, and usually you like to critique, how people respond to things and how it's not perfect. You're totally right here, Brian. Mike Pence needed to say, I don't agree with that.
It's a joke.
And that's it.
And again, this is a guy that quotes the Bible all the time. This is a guy who calls him a great Christian.
It proves that he is afraid of Donald Trump. It proves that he's afraid of his boss, of the president of the United States. No, and I agree that is a very cowardice move.
Let me just give out the number one more time. 702-257-5396. Again, that number 257-5396. Go ahead, Chris, chime in here, and then we're going to take some calls.
Well, Brian and JD, the point that was most absurd to me was the fact that the vice president was saying that Don Jr. thought that Don Jr. wasn't being political, when the fact of the matter is Don Jr. mentioned Democrats as if they had a political motivation to want to have people die from the virus in this country so that Donald Trump's candidacy would suffer in 2020. He's making an absolute direct connection to politics and this virus, and to claim otherwise is just completely ridiculous.
All right, let's see what you think out there. 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off with Frank? Frank, you are first up on the Vegas Take, sir. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Just real quick, I just tuned in, and I was just catching how upset you are with Mike Pence, and I heard the term Bible thumper.
Yep.
That's a pretty derogatory term.
You're damn right, and I mean it. I mean it for every sense of the derogatory sense, and I'll explain to you why, Frank, because it sounds to me like you have a problem with that. Okay, you can.
I took offense. It was offensive.
Okay, let me explain.
I was offended by it.
Okay, so Frank, let me ask you a question. Are you the type of person that would claim that Democrats want to kill innocent people so that Trump doesn't get reelected in 2020? Would you ever say that?
Am I that type? No, I don't.
Okay,
no,
good,
I would never
Frank.
say
Okay, so good, Frank. I'm glad that you wouldn't do that, and I would never call you a Bible thumper. The reason why I call Mike Pence a Bible thumper because he quotes the Bible all the time. He calls himself about how he's a man of God and he's this great Christian. Well, the great Christian and the man of God is basically saying it's understandable. That's what he said. It's understandable for the president's son to say that all Democrats want to kill innocent people with this virus, are okay with innocent people dying, so President Trump doesn't get reelected in 2020. I don't want a guy who says egregious things like that or defends it, quoting the Bible. I don't want a guy talking about what a great Christian man he is when he thinks it's okay for one party to say the other party wants to kill innocent people. I have a big problem with that, Frank, and that's why I call them a Bible thumper, because in my personal opinion, those who quote the Bible all the time, not all, but many that quote the Bible all the time, that call themselves these great Christians, are some of the worst people on the planet, and they're hypocrites.
Yeah, well, I don't know anybody that calls themselves a, quote, great Christian, and most believers know they fall short. Also, most people that look at Christians always try to hold them to a higher standard, that most Christians will never reach.
So let me ask you that. I was just going to ask you, Frank, with that set of thinking, and I don't deny that some people think that way, but with that set of thinking, wouldn't Mike Pence say that and say, listen, Don Jr. needs to be held to a higher standard. Our president needs to be held to a higher standard. Our president shouldn't be attacking women based on looks. Our president shouldn't be going after POWs. Our president shouldn't be having unprotected sex with porn stars. Well, by that logic, Frank, it is, well, you're laughing, but it's true.
It's true, yeah.
By that logic, Frank, shouldn't Mike Pence be standing up and saying, Trump, you need to be a better Christian, be a better human being? Why is he not holding the president accountable if he's such a great person?
Sure, I agree. The only comment I really had was that, saying a Quran thumper, a Torah thumper, a Bible thumper is the only thing. All you're doing is, if you're bashing these people for being ignorant, you're being just as ignorant. And you're saying, I'm saying it to Mike Pence. But literally, no, I'm not. You're saying it to millions
Here's
of
what
people.
Here's what I'm saying. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying it to millions of people. I'm saying for the Bible thumpers out there, and let me even rephrase that. For the ultra-religious people out there, if you are the ones that commit the most sins and you are the ones that defend and enable the sinners, then I don't want to hear about your Bible passages. I don't want to hear about your religion and your religion who I think you hide behind. Make no mistake about it. There are many religious people out there that are great people. There are many religious people out there that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, even though I am not a religious person. Mike Pence is not one of those people. I am not speaking for every religious person that quotes the Bible. Specifically in this conversation, I am speaking to Mike Pence.
All right.
And Frank, and let me point out real quickly, Frank, you are correct on one thing. Brian did coin a phrase. No one's used the phrase "great Christian" before. That's not something really that we talk about.
A good.
You
Christian.
don't call him a great Christian because that's not. It's just a weird phrasing. But I was just trying to point that out.
A good Christian. Yeah. You get my point. Yeah. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number is 257-5396. We're talking about Don Jr.'s comment saying that the Democrats want millions of innocent Americans dead so that Donald Trump is not reelected in 2020. And then we have Mike Pence, the stiff buffoon that he is, saying that those statements of Don Jr. are, quote, understandable. It is utterly pathetic and disgusting, and Mike Pence is a coward who hides behind his religion. Taking your calls at 257-5396. Let's go to Ira. Ira, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Ira?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Doing well.
So I agree 100% with Brian saying. I mean, what he said was ridiculous, and same thing about Pence. He should have said, yeah, that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, I listen to Brian Kilby and I listen to the Brian show, so I try to listen to both sides of it,
Yeah.
And I drive Uber, so a lot of times I get a lot of people from different countries, and I actually talk to people that I really get the straight from these people,
Yep.
So you try to listen to what's on the news and you try to use some common sense. But
Sure.
Can we just, I know it's not a perfect world, can we just stop all this stuff and wait till November and just let the people decide who they want to be president?
Well, it's not. Listen, in a perfect world, that'd be great, Ira. But I'm sure you want. I mean, it's not. It's not that
There's
easy.
going to be dialogue.
It's not that easy. There has to be dialogue, and we have what is going to be a pretty emotional presidential race.
Yeah, and Fox News and CNN and CBS and MSNBC, they all need media content for the next six months, and this fills all those time slots and gives all those advertisers.
Oh, and by the way, we haven't even decided on a Democratic candidate yet, guys. Right? I mean, come on.
But Ira, going back to what you just said, I'm sure you would agree. This coronavirus is a serious situation. People have died, and I don't want to take anything away from it. This is serious. This is an issue. We had a guy on last hour, Carl Goldman, who has the coronavirus. He's been separated from his wife. He's in Nebraska.
I listened to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, great guy. I really feel sorry for him. I feel bad for him. So I would hope that we could all come together in this aspect and say, listen, we want to tackle this thing. But then you have Mike Pence, who says that this is a time to come together. He said that on CNN yesterday, and in the same conversation said it was understandable for Donald Trump Jr. to say that the Democrats want millions of innocent Americans to die. You know, Mike Pence is a hypocrite, and he's a phony, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean that's my frustration, Ira. Hey, listen, man.
Both sides are like this, my friend.
I agree with you. I agree with you in this aspect that yes, at times there are Democrats that are also hypocrites. But here's the difference, Ira. Mike Pence is in charge of the coronavirus. He is the vice president of the United States, and it was Donald Trump's son that made these comments. If Barack Obama's daughter made a comment like that, for example, if Barack Obama's daughter made a comment over the weekend that said, Republicans, all they care about is getting reelected. They don't care about curing the coronavirus. Republicans would be going nuts right now if she made a statement like right. You see what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the point I'm trying. Ira, I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much.
Let me make a quick comment
call,
too
Ira.
about this both sides comment that everybody wants to make. All right, yes, both sides of the political spectrum, okay, are going to highlight what they expect. But make no mistake about it, okay? Republicans are in charge of the Senate. Republicans are in charge of the White House, okay? So the reason why we focus is because these people are the ones that are in charge. Democrats are not in the White House. That's why we talk about Trump and we talk about Mike Pence and we talk about the administration. They're Republicans.
If you're a Republican and you're listening out there, how do you defend this? How do you defend?
They're going to try, Brian.
How do you
defend?
Try.
It's even more difficult knowing that Mike Pence is, again, spearheading this entire operation.
Which he shouldn't be doing,
The guy, and that's fine, based on his experience in Indiana with the HIV, with the needles, et cetera. And that's fine that he's doing that. But in order for him not to say, I don't think that the president's son, or that I don't agree with what the president's son, that Democrats actually wish millions of Americans need to die so that they can gain political power because they're not in power right now, as the guy who's spearheading just attacking the virus itself, that's pretty bad.
I mean, do you think that this guy we just spoke with, Carl Goldman, who has the virus last hour, do you think that he thinks that Democrats are out to kill him? Do you really think that? I mean, it's just I shouldn't even have to ask that question. It's so ridiculous. Don Jr., just shut your mouth. You've accomplished nothing in your life. Just be quiet. Go live in your multi-million-dollar mansions and go away in your stupid book. Nobody cares what you have to say. And then, I'll tell you one thing. Mike Pence is the vice president. People should care what he has to say. And Mike Pence is now doubling down and saying that it's okay for Donald Trump Jr., basically, to say Democrats want innocent people to die so that Donald Trump isn't reelected. Let me tell you something. When history looks back at Mike Pence, they're going to look at him as a lying, fake buffoon who hides behind his religion because he's a stiff. That's exactly what Mike Pence is. He's a coward. He has no backbone. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Carl. Carl, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Yeah, hey, guys. I talked about this last week, but I'll be real quick. As far as Don Jr. goes, there's an old saying, consider the source. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And as far as Pence goes, let me just give you a little psychological aspect of this. The more rabid somebody is against a certain thing like homosexuality, is a fear in these people that they may have a touch of it or have thought of it or maybe found out about it.
It's possible.
It goes, yeah. Well, it also you got to think of it this way. It goes back to. Let me just take you way back to Germany to a man like Hitler. He had a terrible hatred of Jews. Why? Because one of his grandfathers was Jewish, and he had a whole town burned down and all the records destroyed, so it wouldn't be shown. But he had that rabid hatred.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's the same thing.
Carl, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Carl.
Psychologically, Pence has this fear. Anybody that has a fear of any type of, they're afraid of their own self.
Carl, I could not agree with you more, and I appreciate the phone call. Good to hear from you again.
Good call, Carl.
Number 257-5396. Again, when I use the term Bible thumper, when I use ultra-religious alt-right, when I use terms like that, it's not every single person that's religious I'm talking about, but in this specific situation, I'm talking specifically about Mike Pence. I'm talking about the Laura Ingrams of the world who wear their cross over their neck, who say that they're people of faith, and yet all she does is attack African Americans and Democrats. That's all she does on her show.
You're saying that Bible thumpers and the ultra-religious are, in most cases, hypocritical.
I'm not saying in most cases. I never used that statement, but I said there is a portion of them who want to, quote the Bible, and some of these people, not most, not all, but some of these people are really the sinners themselves, are big sinners themselves.
Look,
and
JD
they're
and Brian,
hypocrites.
this word has raised its head in the last 3.5 years, right? Hypocrisy. JG just brought hypocrisy, okay? It's absolutely something that's come into play when we've been talking about American politics over the past 3+ years because of how, certain politicians deal with situations that are contradictory to what their previous beliefs were or how they viewed those these actual situations in the past. And then now all of a sudden they've done a complete 180 and switched around on their viewpoint. That is what we're talking about as far as hypocrisy.
For any Republican out there, they want to go after everybody on the left, everybody. But when it comes to their own party, when it comes to the president, when it comes to the president's son, and when it comes to the vice president, they are hypocrites and they are silent. There are certain people that are not capable of being, I guess you could say, just saying that the president's wrong, saying that the president's son is wrong. They're incapable. Those people have absolutely zero credibility. Zero.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. There's people like Don Jr. and also Republicans, when it comes to this issue, railing against Democrats, saying that they're politicizing the coronavirus, when in fact they're exactly doing that themselves. They're coming out and doing the exact same thing that they're railing against. Okay? They're politicizing it. They're talking about how Democrats want people to die from the virus because it would hinder Donald Trump politically. Yeah. That is the epitome of politicizing what is going on right now.
There's no question. There's no question about that. And by the way, is this the guy that you want running the show with the coronavirus? I know that there's a lot of people working hard, and I get all that. But do you want the person in charge who said back in 2000 that cigarettes don't kill, the vice president who prays more than anything else? Is this the guy you want in charge of this thing? It's a sad joke.
Well, the answer is absolutely not, right, Brian?
It's a joke.
Yes, the answer is no.
What a shocker that Donald Trump...
The reason he's ahead of it, and if you watch the Saturday appearance, Donald Trump and his administration want someone who can eloquently explain what is...
The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We'll get to your calls here in just a minute. Just kind of resetting the scene here. Donald Trump Jr. making some statements the other day claiming that Democrats are hoping that innocent Americans, millions actually, of innocent Americans die of the coronavirus so that Donald Trump is not reelected in 2020. Here's what he said in an interview on television last week. Have a listen to this.
Anything that they can use to try to hurt Trump, they will. For them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness.
Well, here's a new level of sickness, ladies and gentlemen. The Vice President of the United States now saying that those comments were understandable. He was asked by Jake Tapper asking him this question over the weekend and it seems like he's defending Don Jr.'s comments. Here it is.
Can we agree that neither Democrats nor Republicans want Americans to get the coronavirus and die from it? I mean, that does seem like it seems like very extreme rhetoric. I don't expect you to criticize the president's son, but you don't think that Democrats want people to contract this disease, do you?
Well, I think what the president said earlier this week, and his charge to me is to remind the American people that the risk is low, to assure the American people that we're ready, but also to say, as the president said, this is no time for politics. And frankly, I think that was Don Jr.'s point, that there has been some very strong rhetoric directed at the president by some members of Congress and
you don't think that was
political
strong
commentators.
rhetoric?
Well,
he said seemingly Democrats want millions of Americans to die of coronavirus.
But responding to the kind of things that have been hurled is understandable.
Yeah, okay. Let me just be very clear here, okay? He dodged that question, and then
100%.
at the end defended it. But he dodged that question just like the president of the United States dodged the military with his stupid bone spurs. Okay, make no mistake about it. We're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call 702-257-5396. Are you comfortable with the president's son making those comments? Are you comfortable with the vice president doubling down, saying that Don Jr.'s comments were understandable? It is utterly disgusting. Again, that number 257-5396. Let's go to Chris, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Chris, what's going on?
How are you today?
What's up, Chris?
What's
First
up?
of all, I listen to your show. I'm a Republican, self-employed in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people that are Republicans, I believe, just want to make a living. They don't want to get into all the politics.
I think most Americans feel that way.
Exactly, and I don't like the division that it's come up in the world today with the Democrats versus Republicans.
What's this have to do with what we're talking about with the coronavirus and comments made by the president's son and the vice president?
Well, what I'm saying is that as a Republican, I don't believe anything that politicians say, meaning whatever those politicians say to be on TV or to put themselves in light, you can't believe a word a politician's saying, regardless.
Well,
of
then how are you a Republican? Why are you a Republican then if you don't believe in politics or what politicians are talking about when they're talking about their viewpoint or their ideology? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you have to pick a side in life, right? I'm an older man, right? We have to pay attention to the economy and what we make, how we make it. We have kids, families, stuff like that. You know, you learn along the way to take a side.
Chris, I understand.
Right?
Chris, I understand your point to an extent, but I got to tell you, I don't have to pick a side, and that's why I'm an independent. I just call it as I see it. I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from. The only point I'm trying to make, Chris, and listen, make no mistake about it, I'm not trying to say Democrats, some Democrats don't play political games, and the majority of them do. Okay, I understand what you're saying. With that being said, in this specific situation, Chris, I think you agree with me. The vice president of the United States and the president's son basically saying that Democrats want millions of innocent Americans to die so that Donald Trump
the vice president didn't say that. Don
but
Jr.
he's doubling down.
The
on
vice president rationalized around the comments.
I understand, but he said it was understandable.
I just want to point that out. Yeah,
he said he's
saying that.
He said he's understandable, so I am putting him in that category, Chris.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say here is that it is beyond the realm of ridiculous.
But don't you agree with all the bitter hatreds lately? I mean, I live around a lot of different ethnicities, and there's separation in the community, which should not be there with the Democrat versus Republican thing. We are all just trying to make it through life. And to quote what these people say and hold it to a high standard, you can't believe a word these politicians are saying, whether they're Democrat or Republican. I don't believe half the stuff Trump says anyway.
Okay, so Chris, here's where I disagree with you. I think here's where we disagree.
Right.
I disagree in this sense. I think the president's words matter, and they absolutely should matter. He's the leader of the free world. I believe the vice president's words matter.
Yep.
While I get what you're saying, and I understand that you can't hold what the words that every single politician says and to a high, I get that. I think I understand what you're saying. At the same time, Chris, we're talking about the president, his family, and the vice president. I think their words do matter.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really likes Trump because he's been on TV. He's well hated. All right. But you got to look at what his accomplishments are as far as a working man in this town for 20 years. We want to just make money. And history shows
all right.
that.
So let me ask you a question.
You're saying you don't think people like Trump as a human being?
What's that?
Well, of course not. That's what he's saying.
That's what you're saying.
I think that's obvious, though.
Well, I want to ask Chris a question. Chris, because maybe you could educate me. What policies?
The working man. Yeah.
What policies has specifically President Donald Trump put in place to help the working man?
I don't think there's much he's been able to do.
Well, if you
And
just-
I'm not happy with that at all.
Whoa. You just came out and said that you believe that what the president has been able to do in his 3.5 years has benefited the working man. I would contend this. I would say he's benefited your boss. He's benefited the top 1% of this country with the 2017 tax cut.
Hasn't helped me.
Well, but you know what? You understand the point I'm trying to make here. You're saying the working man has benefited by President Trump's either policies, procedures, whatever. But you just pointed out that you think he hasn't done anything.
Chris,
you just said right now he hasn't done anything.
Not for me personally. You ask what he's done for me.
Okay.
He hasn't done anything for me personally.
Okay.
All right. As far as the economy, we're in a microclimate here. Everything is different in Las Vegas. But outside of Las Vegas, people are doing very well. They're able to feed their kids, take them to school, good things, right?
Yeah.
But I don't like the hatred. Okay, at any rate, I could be an independent or a nobody. But I don't like the hatred
Well,
that's
I
going on
understand.
between
Listen, Chris,
people.
I understand where you're coming from, my friend. I don't think anybody that is a reasonable human being like yourself likes the hatred, but I also think it's telling that, you say you're a Republican, and I believe everything you said. But with that being said, if you can't give me one policy that Trump has put in place to help you, quite frankly, I'm not sure how you can support him. That's just my personal opinion. Let's get back to the calls at 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Morning.
Good
So
morning.
I called you guys the other day, and it's going to be the same thing I'm going to say today in relation to this subject. Is this really something new?
What, that the son of the president of the United States? Hold on a second.
We have the audio.
Hold on a second.
It's new.
Is this something new? Yes, it is, actually, because Mike Pence did an interview yesterday on CNN with Jake Tapper, and he said it was understandable, the comments that Don Jr. made. He's the vice president of the United States. So, yes, to answer your question.
Before a lot of recent elections, Democrats have said if you elect Republicans, black churches are going to burn.
Can you please give me? Okay, hold on, Mike.
Over the roof.
All right, Mike, let's go with that. Mike,
thousands of Americans are going to die.
Okay, so Mike, let's go back to that. Can you please name me one Democrat that said that they believe that a Republican? Hold on a second. Let me finish my damn question before you interrupt me. Do you think that give me one Democrat that has said they want millions of African Americans dead? Okay, so that they can get their candidate to win. Please give me one Democrat that has ever said that in history that was running.
I didn't say I knew that.
Well, guess what?
Exactly.
That's exactly
Democrats
what we're talking about.
Said if you elect Republicans, thousands of people are going to die. Black churches are going to burn.
Well, first of all,
what specific Democrat said that? Yeah, what you name? Who was that? Who was the Democrat that said that?
Go back and look.
No, I'm not
Wait a minute. You can't just throw. Hey, time out. You can't just throw out
a patently one-sided on
you
your
can't just throw out a general statement like that and then not have any facts to back it up.
Hey,
okay?
Mike,
I just saw a rainbow elephant the other day, and
so ridiculous.
It definitely happened. So you have to believe
and by
me.
the way,
Come on now.
By the way, let me just make a distinction here to this moron. Okay, saying that somebody believes based on policy that a couple thousand people could die, and saying that Democrats or a party want millions of people to die is a huge distinction. You don't sound to me like you're a math major, sir, but, minus a couple million, from 2000. 702-257-5.
By the way, breaking news.
Yeah, I know that. I was gonna
You were gonna drop
that.
it?
I have that. Yep. 702-257-5396. We'll get to the breaking news here in just a few minutes. I just want to get to a few more phone calls. Let's go to Dennis. Dennis, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Dennis?
Hey, my name's Dennis, and I'll tell you right now, yes, I am a Republican. I'm a very proud Republican. I wear a Donald Trump hat everywhere I go, and I get compliments everywhere I go wearing that hat. But I have a couple questions for you. Do you want mind asking them?
Okay.
You say you're not a biased person, but everything I hear from you is you bash the President of the United States.
So if I'm bashing one Republican, does that mean I'm biased?
Well, yeah, really it is.
Really?
And he's not even a Republican.
I've listened to you for a long time, and I never heard you bashing Obama when he was.
Well, you should have listened to the show last week because I was bashing Bernie Sanders for 90 minutes, and it's not my fault you weren't listening, sir, with all due respect.
Okay, but here you go. See, right now you're getting so offensive.
No, I'm not. You're just saying something that's incorrect, and you're calling up and you're calling me biased, and you don't have your facts, and you don't know. So
I do.
Okay, you do? Okay. So what is my opinion on Barack Obama? Do you know my opinion on Barack Obama? Do you know my opinion on Mitt Romney?
Hillary Clinton.
Do you know my opinion on Hillary Clinton, sir?
I'm sure you love them.
Oh, see, there's where you're so wrong. You're hold on. No.
I'm sure you love him.
No, Dennis. No. Pot him down. You're not going to get away with that, sir. You're not going to get away with that. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton.
He absolutely does not like Hillary Clinton.
All right, let me say, I'm not a Hillary Clinton supporter.
No.
I would never vote for her. And guess what? I wasn't a huge fan of Barack Obama and his presidency. I didn't vote for President Obama either.
But he just said, I'm sure you love him, Brian.
Yeah.
That's what he just said.
So
that was one hell of an assumption.
To start the conversation, you are 150% wrong. And then you ask me why I get agitated.
But you understand why he's doing that.
Well, any idiot who thinks just because I don't like Donald Trump, I must be a liberal, I must be biased. You're assuming, and you're making an ass out of you, not me, by the way. So, Dennis, I will pod you back on the air so long as you admit that you made an assumption that was incorrect.
We'll get extra to the facts.
Did you listen to one word that I just said? Did you listen to one word?
Because you're not.
No. Okay. Goodbye.
Again, Brian.
Goodbye.
Our callers don't understand what it means when you say "pod you down."
Well, you know what's interesting about that, JD? They just continue to talk, even if he does. If Brian says pod him down,
I don't want them on anyway.
The listeners, the people that are on the phone, they just continue to go.
I think they think it means that he's going to talk them down when it actually means that your volume is literally being turned down.
I don't want somebody who's going to.
We're not going to be able to.
But it is kind of funny hearing like that. They're still in the middle of their paragraph when they put pot him back up. I have to say that is rather humorous.
Guess what? If somebody is going to start a conversation and make gross assumptions that are,
you know what I mean, JD?
If somebody is going to start a conversation and make gross assumptions that are completely untrue, I'm not going to let them keep talking because I'm going to correct them and then give them an opportunity to say, "Oops, I'm sorry, I was wrong." This guy is a buffoon and he has no idea what he's talking about. Let's go back to the line, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Alan. Alan, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Alan?
Hello, gentlemen. I hate to jump right into the fire. I'll make it quick. Some of the things that I benefited from were, I know they said only the rich receive tax breaks, but I received a tax break. I remember checking it closely, and I think I got about $80 more per paycheck twice a month.
And Alan,
that's true too. I'm on board with you. Yes.
What income range are you in right now? If I don't mind asking.
I'm in the, I would say the 50 to 70 range.
Okay.
There.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Alan.
You're the definition of middle class.
Based on commission,
Okay.
Right. So, you're in sales then.
Alan, that is a reason to be. Okay. That is a reason that you would support Trump, and I respect that. But now let me ask you a question: were you one of those people over the course of 8 years that was complaining about Barack Obama and the deficit that he put forth? Did you have a problem with that?
I did. I was upset about that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. There's a reason why. There's a reason why I asked that question, and the reason why I asked that question was because Donald Trump has accumulated more of a deficit in 3 years as president than Obama did in the first 3 years. So while you're getting an extra $80 every 2 months, we're accumulating more debt under Donald Trump than Barack Obama.
And so you're saying that he should feel bad about that?
I'm asking him his opinion on it.
No, you're making it seem like he should feel bad about the fact that he's bringing in $80 more every paycheck
let me let him answer
Barack
the question.
Obama actually had a less deficit than Trump did, and maybe he's going to be part of that deficit.
Right, Can we let the caller answer? Go ahead, Alan.
I did not realize that the deficit had ballooned that much under Trump. I'd have to look at that. I just remember it doubling from Bush to Obama. It doubled.
There's no question. And that you're right.
I didn't realize it had jumped that much under Trump. I knew it had gone up a little.
Right.
But again, I believe other people control some of the purse strings as well. I mean, government will never cut back on anything.
There is no question that I agree with you, number one, with what you just said about Barack Obama. We're in agreement. And I also agree with you that the president is not the only person that is in charge of what's going on with the deficit. But with that being said, Alan, you get my point. While I'm happy for you that you're making a little bit more money, I wish that upon all Americans, especially the ones that are not gazillionaires. The Republicans that had a problem with Obama with the deficit, the Republicans who call themselves fiscally responsible, never want to bring up the fact that Trump has increased the deficit in his first 3 years more than Obama did.
If you make more money now in your taxes because of Trump or on your paycheck because of Trump, you should feel bad about the fact that Trump's deficit is higher than Obama's was. And if you don't, then you're a hypocrite. That's basically what Brian is saying.
I mean, JD,
which I think is completely reasonable. Let me ask this.
JD, once again, is putting words in my mouth and has no idea what my opinion is on the issue. What a shocker.
How was your insurance situation? Oh, you're off the fly now. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay. But no, he's correct, though. There are a lot of working people, and that's why I wish that person that was the working man that called in earlier would have brought up the fact that if they do get a paycheck every 2 weeks, they're getting more money. Yes. It's the 2017 tax plan that was put forth is why, the deregulation. There's a bunch of reasons. Look, I'm not an economist.
No question.
But yes, there's a bunch of reasons why average Americans are getting more in their paycheck every 2 weeks than they did when Barack Obama was president.
So JD alluded to the breaking news a few minutes ago, so let's talk about that, JD. The breaking news, and I was slamming Amy.
It's lining up. It's lining up for Joe, guys.
I was slamming Amy Klobuchar for not bouncing out of the race. Well, it appears as though I give her credit now. She does the right thing. The day after, I questioned whether she would have done it if Buttigieg didn't do it first. But with that being said, she did the right thing. It is official now. Amy Klobuchar can eat salads with combs for the rest of her career if she would like. But she is now out of the presidential race. And here's something that's important as well, because Pete Buttigieg has put his support for Joe Biden. Amy Klobuchar doing the exact same thing, endorsing Joe Biden, and she will be making that speech and that endorsement tonight in Dallas. So, gentlemen, your reaction to that?
This is what's happening, guys. It's called, the formulation of everybody lining up behind what's eventually going to be the Democratic candidate. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to be that guy. I think Joe Biden is going to be the candidate, and this is kind of the proliferation of that. When you see two very prominent Democratic candidates in the Democratic primary bowing out within 24 hours. Oh, and by the way, just a matter of hours before Super Tuesday this takes place. Yeah. We can all see the writing on the wall, can't we? We understand what is going to take place here. It's going to be the moderates and the on one side of the Democratic Party that are going to be Joe Biden, and then the hard left that's going to be behind Bernie Sanders. They're going to fight it out, and we're going to find out before the Democratic National Convention who the nominee is going to be.
Yeah, it's now a three-headed race. It's
Elizabeth Warren's still
Warren,
in there,
Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden. Now, how fast do you think that Warren drops out, Chris? Do you think she makes another couple of months, or do you think? How long do you think she has left in this race?
Off the top of my head, I would anticipate that she makes another 2 to 3 weeks. I think it's another 2 to 3 weeks, and then she ends up. And it's going to be interesting to see when it comes to her endorsement and who it is that because obviously we understand her relationship with Bernie Sanders, right? And a lot of her policy and her ideology aligns closer to Bernie Sanders than Joe Biden.
Right.
But there's also this frame of mind out there, JD and Brian, that a lot of Democrats have, and that's win at all costs, right? Michael Avenatti talked about it on our show many times. It's called whoever the Democratic nominee is, we are going to solidify ourselves behind that Democratic nominee in an effort to get Donald Trump out of office. That's going to be that's going to be the main focus, to be quite honest.
Based on her policy and just based on kind of how she presents herself and the things that she said, she should endorse Bernie Sanders, but she's not going to. She's going to endorse Joe Biden. She's going to get some type of compensation for it. She's
not endorsing Bloomberg. I know that.
That's not going to happen. She has absolutely no backbone whatsoever. So you're going to see her, despite the fact that everything she says and does is totally anti-Biden. She's going to endorse Joe Biden.
Well, you guys can disagree with me on this one.
And Klobuchar, she should have done this, a long time ago, in my opinion. She was a very, very questionable candidate.
Her numbers were so low, right? She had no chance. Anyway.
Bloomberg,
and the fact that she literally had her staffers give her a comb to eat salad with.
That's weird.
I mean, that's just very, very odd.
That's just strange.
That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys could disagree with me on this one, but Bloomberg had his opportunity. He proved that you cannot buy an election. Bloomberg had his opportunity in Vegas. He blew it that night, in my personal opinion.
Well, he had a bad debate, no doubt.
And when you have your first debate, and there were a lot of people watching to see how he performed, he was horrible. And I believe he's done. I believe this is a two-man race now. I believe it's between all the money in the world's not going to help him. I think it's between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. This actually helps Biden more. The fact in the last 24 hours that Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, listen, a lot of people that were supporting them are now going to, and I'm considering it, by the way.
Go right behind Biden.
I'm going to be honest with you. Now I'm considering that. Even though I've never been a big Joe Biden guy, I'm considering supporting him for that reason and that reason only. I mean, I was a big Pete Buttigieg guy. I really supported this man. So I haven't decided yet, but it's certainly making me think a little bit. And I think there's a lot of other people out there. They don't have to be Democrats. They could be in the middle. Maybe you are supporting Amy Klobuchar. Maybe you were supporting Pete Buttigieg. You learn that they're dropping out in hopes of not only helping the party, but helping Joe Biden. That's got to help Joe Biden. It certainly doesn't hurt him. That's for sure. Right, guys?
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, right, to figure out that these two people that, in Klobuchar and Buttigieg, they're not backing up Bernie Sanders. They're backing up Joe Biden.
Right.
Okay, so it's just strictly, you can take a look at it from a numbers game, whatever you want to do.
And they're doing that for their own political career.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why. Because they can't back, Bernie Sanders, who basically 2 weeks ago said, I'm not going to let the Republicans steal the election from me, and I'm not going to let the Democrats steal the election from me. I mean, he basically just
You're not going to make a lot of friends saying that.
Established himself as a socialist, and you can't back a socialist at this point.
But JD, regardless of their
maybe in 5 to 10
a lot
years,
of millennials are.
Yeah, that does make.
Yeah, but millennials don't vote.
Yeah,
though.
Bernie Sanders.
People don't vote.
Bernie Sanders has support. He has support.
He does. Brian, you're right. He does have young people support in America. There's a
if
huge
you're
contingent.
under the age of 30, you're probably supporting Bernie Sanders.
But look at the numbers over the years when it comes to people that are under 30. Think about us, people who have been under 30.
I wish I was under 30.
And our viewpoint when it came to politics, young people don't vote.
Yeah.
Yes, we want everybody to expect that they have an input, right? That they have an influence when it comes to the political process.
But this election,
at the end of the day, they don't vote.
I think young people are going to vote in droves in this election.
Okay, so
I do think that's going to happen.
I don't think that helps Donald Trump. I don't think that helps Donald Trump. I really don't.
It doesn't.
I think the younger you are, I think there's a better chance that you're probably voting on the Democratic side. That's my opinion.
Let me rephrase that. Young, broke people, entitled, who expect to get a lot of free things from the government, like the goth.
That's an extreme.
The goths from Bernie.
That's like me saying
that we had on our show.
That's like
a lot of people like that.
But JD, that's an extreme.
Who are hiding behind a cause and calling themselves marginalized will absolutely vote for Bernie.
But to me, that's an extreme.
There will be a lot of relatively well-to-do, we'll call them yuppies, who will vote for Donald Trump, I believe.
Well, I disagree, and I think that's an extreme. I could go the other route on an extreme and say white, rich, senior citizens are going to be voting for Donald Trump.
When did I say anything about race there, Brian?
I didn't say you
said
did.
young.
I didn't say you did.
I said young.
I didn't say you said.
So don't include race there.
Okay, you're not listening to me.
I'm not going to listen to that.
I'm
not going to listen
You're
to
not listening
to you
me.
to include race in the conversation.
Will you listen to me for a second?
I mentioned
okay,
age.
JD, listen.
Age,
you're not listening to me.
That's it.
I said
nothing about race.
Okay, you're not listening to me. I said you had something that was extreme, and now I'm going to say something that's extreme.
That isn't. It's not even the same conversation, Brian.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
I did not
it's extreme.
include race.
It's extreme.
Has nothing to do with race.
I didn't say you did.
You could say old
I didn't
rich.
Say you did.
You could say old
I didn't
rich.
Say you
I
did.
said young broke.
Okay.
You could say old rich.
So what?
And go on the other side. But don't.
I didn't say.
But don't.
Where did I say you said?
Don't trickle in the racism element.
Well, I just did because it's an extreme. That's an extreme.
That the majority of rich white men are going to vote for Donald Trump.
The majority of poor.
Don't trickle that in there. Don't subtly sneak that in there.
So you're telling me that you think the majority of wealthy white people are not voting for Donald Trump? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that. I'm saying
wrong?
It's not necessarily the conversation.
So if I'm not wrong, then why? What's the issue with it? I don't understand. I'm saying that the majority of white, rich, older people are voting for Donald Trump. I think that's a very fair opinion.
And you could say the opposite, right? You could say that whoever the Democratic candidate is, right, the majority of non-white people in America, minorities, a.k.a. Asian Americans, a.k.a. African Americans, a.k.a. Latin Americans, are the majority of them will vote for the Democratic candidate, right? That's not outrageous to say.
It's not outrageous to, I think it's reasonable to think that, if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to be voting Democrat, most likely. And if you do have a lot of money, you're going to be voting on the right.
It should stop there. You shouldn't have to include if you don't have a lot of money.
No, I'll say, but JD, race is going to come into play, though.
Minorities, the majority of minorities vote Democrat. The majority of minorities vote Democrat. The majority of old white people vote Republican.
Historically, that has been the case, but we don't know that's going to happen again in 2020.
Well, our job is to give our opinions on it.
We honestly don't know.
But our job is to give our opinions on it and say what we think is going to happen. I think that the majority of rich, white, older people are going to vote for Donald Trump. I don't know why that's a ridiculous thing that would get you upset. I don't understand.
No, it's a total extreme. I said,
how is that an extreme?
I said young.
It's the 1%ers.
Young,
you're talking about.
Young,
or the 5%ers.
Young, broke people who are looking for some type of government subsidy or handout from the government or help from the government or literally, in this case, a takeover from the government.
And the opposite of that is what I said.
Are going to vote for Bernie Sanders.
Okay, well, we got to take a break. And I'm just saying the opposite. Rich people that want tax breaks are going to be voting for Republicans.
Why don't we just say socialists versus capitalists?
And I believe the majority of those people are white.
And leave race out of the conversation.
No, because race is always a part of the conversation when it comes to politics. I think it's important to talk about that. The majority of minorities would probably vote for Bernie Sanders. The majority of non-minorities would vote for Donald Trump. It's just a fact. It's the makeup of the country. That's just the way people are voting. It doesn't mean everybody is going to vote one way or the other, but I think that's just a generalization, and we got to take a break. When we come back, I know JD was in Laughlin. We had some fun over the weekend, big league weekend. We're going to talk about our weekend coming up, and the Astros scandal continues coming up next.